Hello, everybody. How are you today? Welcome to our family room. We're so glad that you have joined us. I'm here with Carlito. Carlito, can you say hi? Hi, hello, everybody. How are you? Yay! I'm here with Pastor Gilo. Yes, you are here with me today, and I am so happy that we're able to be together. Oh, hold on one second here. I am. Anyhow, we are here ready to join us, ready to be able to talk about something that's super awesome and super important. Do you know what that is? I'm not sure. Can you tell me? Yes, absolutely. We started a series on different on stewardship. Oh, on what? Stewardship, and we're gonna find out what that is. But this time, in our second installment of this 15-minute chat that we have together with family ministries and children ministries, we're going to talk about talents. Do you know what your talents are? Can you tell me? No, I think you know. Do you have a talent? Yes, I can talk when you talk. Okay. Now that's a different talent there, Carlito. What? If you talk, I can talk. I know, I know. But that's something different. What else? Well, I can whistle. You can whistle? Yes. Okay. You want to hear? Yes. Okay, that's an interesting whistle. But anyways, we're not going to talk about that. Did you like how I whistle? Shh. Yeah, that's a really good whistle there. But anyways, we're going to talk today about talents. So why don't we stop talking? Yeah, okay, if you stop talking, I stop talking. Yes, I know, Carlito. Why don't we stop talking and we're going to then give Doctors Consuegra, Claudio and Pamela Consuegra from Family Ministries here at the North American Division, time to tell us what all this is about. Are you ready to listen? Yes, I love it. I love what they say, what they have to say. Yes, and then after they're done, then Miss Sherry, who is the director of Children Ministries at North American Division, will have something for us as well. Are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. Are you all ready? Is everybody, is the family ready? Are you all cozy? Are you ready to go? If you are, then we are as well. Doctors Consuegra, this is your time. Thank you very much. Bye.
Hi, moms, dads, and kids. We're so glad that you've joined us tonight in our family room. Did you know that part of being a good steward means using your talents for Jesus? Well, how do you know what talents you have? Moms and dads, you can begin very early looking at the gifts and discerning the talents that God has given your child. You just need to be aware and keep your eyes open. For example, do they like to build things all the time with their hands? Or do they enjoy being outside in the fresh air? Do they enjoy music? Playing the piano, perhaps? There's so many different gifts and talents. We just need to be open to discovering them.
We might have told you before that we have two daughters. And from the time they were little, we wanted to encourage them to read because reading is very important in the intellectual development and the educational development of children. Right. So when our older daughter was little, we would buy her books, but then she would read them so fast, we decided to stop buying books and we would take her to the library and she would come home with a pile of books. Usually she likes stories, adventures, those kinds of things. Well, she ended up liking that so much that she became an English teacher and she specializes in British literature. With our younger daughter, when we took her to the library, and we're not sure why, but she would look for books that had to do with the human body. And she developed that interest in the human anatomy. Well, we encouraged that too because it seems like that was her interest. And so as she grew up, in fact, she became a doctor. Even in first grade for a show, a talent show, I think it was, she went dressed as a doctor with her own place, stethoscope and all that. That's what she wanted to be from the time she was little. So she continued with that interest and she became a doctor, she became a surgeon, and that's what she does now. So we want to encourage our children based on what their interests are. We don't have to put the idea in their minds. Sometimes naturally they develop that interest, whether to be mechanics or painters or architects or nurses or gardeners. It doesn't matter, whatever their interest is, just pay attention and see how you can help them develop that by talking to them about it, by showing them videos, by showing them books that they can read.
So here's some practical tips, Mom and Dad. Number one, you can discover your child's talents and gifts that God has given them by listening and observing. Too many times we want to talk. We want to give them the answers. We think they should go a certain way. But sometimes it's better if we watch, listen to what they want. For example, if you go to the library with your child, give them the choice of picking out some books. What tendency do they have? Do they like books that have to all do with the medical field or the human body or science or math? Or maybe they do like the gardening, the flowers, the trees,
Animals,
books on that.
maybe they would become a veteran or a veterinary assistant.
Perhaps. So you see, Mom and Dad, your child has their own interests and abilities. Or why not ask them? Why not say, if you could go to a field trip anywhere, where would you like to go? What would be your choice to do? You see, by asking those types of questions and giving them the choices of activities, we can very quickly discern what their interests are.
Did you notice I said veteran instead of veterinary? Yeah, you learn about animals, you learn to be a veterinary, not a veteran. But that's what happens sometimes when you are thinking one way and your mouth goes another way. Something else that you can do is encourage your children, but don't force them, don't push them in that direction. You know, maybe your child says, hey, I'd like to learn to play piano. And so you maybe get a piano, or you already have a piano, and you give them lessons, and that's wonderful. If you force them to practice 10 hours a day, or then on top of that, you tell them they have to also learn to play guitar and violin and cello and et cetera, maybe they'll say, this music thing is not for me. So encourage them, yes, but don't push them too hard, because then they may actually find those interests repulsive and go in a total different direction, or simply abandon those interests altogether.
And the third tip we have for you tonight, it's your responsibility to provide the resources. Once you kind of pick up what their interests are, what resources can you provide? You can provide books. You can take them on trips. And you can even talk to neighbors or church members who may already be involved in that career that could become a mentor. Even to very small children, it's wonderful to have a mentor there. Or museums, take them to museums. So just be open, Mom and Dad, and provide the resources, because that you can do.
Now, what's key here, whether it's landscaping, architecture, nursing, medical fields, music, whatever the talent that they have and wish to develop, what's really important is that they use it for God's glory and to help other people. So it's not just simply, I want to play music because it's fun, or I want to be an architect to build houses, but rather, what can I use that talent to help people and to also help God in helping people? That's really what it comes down to as far as talents is concerned. Hey, Miss Sherry, what do you got to tell our children tonight about talents and that stewardship that God has given us of our talents?
Well, thank you so much. I do have a great story for you today, kids. And so if you're listening, gather around, because I have this great story about the kid who changed the world. And what I'm going to do is first of all, it is talking about the talents that this little child had. But I'm going to open it up so that you can see the pictures. And you can see all the pictures, and you won't be seeing me anymore. So let's just read this book. I'm just going to tell it to you. I want to tell you a story about a kid who changed the world. His name was Norman Borlaug. Norman lived on a farm in Iowa. He loved to play hide and seek with his little sisters in their father's cornfield. You can see the cornfield there. Norman was tall and skinny, and he had such light hair that he kind of looked like a corn stalk himself. And this made it really easy to be good at hiding in the cornfield. Let me just turn the page for you, so you can see them playing hide and seek. There they are. Norman tiptoed quietly so his sisters couldn't hear him. Then he would shout, "Gotcha!" And they would all giggle with fun and say, "Let's play this again." Well, guess what? Norman loved, let me just turn the page again here, make sure I get just one page here. Norman loved the cornfield. He was always careful not to knock down any corn stalks. And just yesterday, his father said and reminded him, "You know, son, we are so blessed to have all this corn. There's so many people in the world who do not have enough to eat." I wonder, thought Norman, what would it be like to be hungry all the time? There must be a way my corn can feed hungry people, he thought, and he thought, and he thought, and right then and there, Norman decided to change the world. Norman learned everything that he could about plants. And when he grew up, he worked for a man named Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace asked Norman to make some special kinds of seeds that would grow into super plants and feed more people than ordinary plants. Norman could do this. He had studied a lot about plants. To make these special plants, Norman had to go to far away places. He worked hard and studied hard. He never gave up. He never ever gave up until finally Norman developed the special seeds that grew into super plants. Norman's special seed of corn and wheat and rice were sent all over the world, and the super plants fed the hungry people just like Norman dreamed about as a boy. Did you know that a whole family could eat dinner from one super plant? And guess what? Norman saved 2 million people from starving. 2 million. Yep, it's true. Norman was the kid who saved the world. Or maybe it was Henry. Well, you see, Henry thought he could change the world too. So I want to tell you about a kid who changed the world. His name was Henry Wallace. Henry's father was a professor, and one of his students was a young man named George. Henry loved to go with George on expeditions in the countryside. George knew more about plants than anyone anywhere. You know, God gave us plants as a way to learn, Henry. We can use that knowledge to help others. Let me just leave it over. George knew all about that. It's a very important mission, he said. George said, "Henry, I want that to be my mission. Will you help me?" Let's see if I can just turn this page up here. Of course. Remember, Henry, God made you to make a difference. And I believe you will. Well, Henry learned so much about plants that he grew up to be a very important man. He grew up to be the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, but that's not all. He also became the Vice President of the United States of America, and he never stopped learning about plants and how he could help people. He really wanted to help as many people as he could, so guess what he did? He hired a young man named Norman Borlaug. You remember, the same Norman who liked to play with his sisters in the cornfield, the same one who developed the special seeds that grew into super plants that fed the hungry people. So you see, because Henry is the one who came up with the idea of special seeds, and hired Norman to make them, it was really Henry who changed the world. Or wait a minute, maybe it was George. You see, George was always thinking about ways that he could help other people. George, you've got a very sharp mind and a kind heart. I bet your friends will be mighty grateful for all the kind things you do. You know, George, little things can make a big difference. Everything we do matters. Every action you take, even small things, can change the world. Well, sure enough, George Washington Carver changed the world. He became a teacher and an inventor. We know his name because he made, guess what? He made 266 things from peanuts. And some of the things he invented, we still use today, but he did something much more important than that. When George was at Iowa State University, he had a teacher named Professor Wallace. On weekends, George would roam the fields and forests with the professor's 6-year-old son, Henry, and he would teach the boy all about plants and how that could be used to help people. So let's just see here. Let's just see. Norman made the seeds that grew into plants that fed the world's hungry people, but he couldn't have done it without Henry. Let's turn it. Yeah, he couldn't have done it without Henry, who had the idea to make super plants and hired him. But Henry would not have had the idea without George, who spent so much time teaching young Henry about plants. So there you have it. George Washington Carver was the kid who changed the world. But wait, we forgot about his mom, Susan. Well, let's see about Susan. I want to tell you about a kid who changed the world. Her name was Susan. She lived on a farm with her mom and dad way, way up north. Susan was always thinking of ways that she could reuse old things to make life easier for people. And her mom said, you know, dear, every choice you make, good or bad, can make a difference, said her mom. I'm proud of you for making a good choice today to help us patch the chicken shed with this old wood. Well, guess what? When Susan grew up, she married a man named Moses. Not the Moses in the Bible. His name was Moses Carver. They had a farm with some workers helping them. And one night, some bad men came and burned their barn down and took some of their workers. And one of the people they kidnapped was a little boy named George. Well, Susan and her husband were very scared and determined that they were going to find that little boy named George. And they did. They had to trade their favorite black horse for the little boy. As Susan rocked the scared little boy, she and Moses decided right then and there they were going to adopt George and give him their last name. And so she said to him, good night, little George Washington Carver. So if Susan, there's my book. So if Susan and Moses did not save George from the bad men, George wouldn't have grown up to take Henry on walks in the forest. Then Henry wouldn't have become interested in plants and later hire Norman. Without Henry's idea, Norman wouldn't have developed the special seed that grew into super plants. And without the super plants, 2 million people would have nothing to eat. So you see, kids, we all have gifts that God has given to us. to change the world. You have a gift that you can use, that you can change the world. You know, do you know what your gift is? You know, Pastor or Dr. Claudio and Pamela talked about some of those kind of gifts. If you don't know what they are, just ask your mom and dad, but don't stop there. Ask your grandma and your grandpa, and then maybe even ask your teacher, and keep studying and using your gift. Remember, God made you to make a difference in this world, and I know you will. Thank you for being with us and for this story. I just want to tell you this story was written by Andy Andrews. And so if you want to get it from the library, it's a great book to read. Thank you for joining us.
Wow, Carlito, did you enjoy that? Yes, that was so awesome. I think I have talents. I know I have talents. I want to change the world too, just like George did. I know. Isn't that awesome? I'm so glad that we were able to get all this info. You know, mommies and daddies got some great information. Boys and girls heard a wonderful story. This was such an awesome time. I just want to take this moment to invite you to come back every other Tuesday so that we can talk about this wonderful topic, this new series that we have on stewardship. I do need to tell you though, we will not be having this in 2 weeks because there's a couple of changes, but we will post the new dates on so you'll know when we're going to come on for the next series. Okay, so glad that for the next topic. I'm glad that you joined us. 15-minute chat with the whole family. We hope to see you next time. Say bye to everybody. Bye, 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 everybody. Bye-bye.